Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video is a link to get £50 back for switching your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Neil and Arwin in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hey, good Friday.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
It's super enthusiastic Discord for a Friday.
Hey, I was just playing the rerun of the Pickle Rick when you started your show.
Pickle Rick?
Yeah, you want to hear it? It's the minute 50 seconds. I debuted it on my channel, and you played it on yours when I did it.
Where is it? In one of the...
No, I got it right here. I'm just going to play it through my mic.
Okay.
Here we go.
Speaking of Pickle Rick. Hello. Yes, go ahead, Dennis. Speaking of Pickle Rick, Brian, you made a connection with Pythagoras with 8 inches per mile all the way to current day Pickle Rick. You want to go over that?
Sure thing. Yeah. There's a timeline, you see, that led us to yesterday. And today. With, he created a mathematical reference model. It's him that gave us the 8 inches per mile square. He gave us the original calculations for the globe. Now, his ideas were promoted by Aristotle's, and then Aristophanes tested his 3 assumptions by pre-assuming exactly what he said, and then getting the almost exact same for a circumference. And then after that, Al-Biruni in the 11th century, what he did was another pre-assumed radius value. Okay. And then we end up yesterday today with Chucky and Ed Freeze. That's what we get.
Oh my God.
Martin.
Exactly. Yes. But no, it's just an accurate description from rhetoric to trench. That's all it is.
Sounds like a timeline for a movie.
From the producers of Die Hard, from rhetoric to trench. Soon.
Very good.
Classic show.
I remember, yeah.
Very good stuff. Should we do a bit of housekeeping? Now everyone hopefully off mute in Discord.
Yeah.
The love from Discord.
Hello.
Thanks, George. so enthusiastic. Any evidence of physical geometric sphere edge? That would be a horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature.
Well, they were still talking about that yesterday in the after show, the after show. So they still claim it. They were still discussing. I stepped in at some point and started to talk back, but they still do claim that the horizon is geometrical. They still do, even though they said they never did.
We've got this thing called the Black Swan that shows the horizon beyond its geometric capabilities.
I know, that's what I told them too. they weren't really listening. They just said it was debunked. Then I told them, no, you don't seem to understand what the black swan is. Then just moved on anyway. And
But did they tell you how it was debunked?
Hmm?
Did they tell you how?
the black swan.
Yes.
Yeah, they say they do.
No, but did they
No,
offer
it's-
you an Arwinian paradox? Because that's to date the only thing that stands. Well, it's the R value that we can no longer measure being used to move the horizon, something that's physical, into a geometric and incapably positioned position.
Well, what my angle to that argument was is that I basically tried to explain to them any miraging effects as established to be out there in the physical world within the field of optics can never displace anything visual, or it displaces things visual in relation to the horizon, but it never displaces the horizon itself. So like a bulge might stick out a little, bulge of water because of tidal bulge, whatever. But the horizon itself, that apparent line, that position where the horizon will be, which can be relatively close by looking because of weather conditions or very far, right? Which seem to be on the field of view higher, but it's just further into the distance. So if you take that into account, yeah, where it is, the horizon itself does not displace in relation to the horizon. It just seems further or closer by, further away, closer by. But visual displacements don't displace the horizon itself. So their entire argument falls dead anyway, because the horizon itself can't be displaced
So
through
what you're
the optics.
So what you're saying, Arwen, is that the geographical position of, for example, London, England, or Paris, France, cannot move because it's physical.
Well, the horizon itself, like the geometry
Yes.
of the visuals cannot really be altered by miraging effects. It's
Yes.
only things present on those geometries that might be displaced.
So by comparison, 10th man saying, in the same way as if you're looking at France, let's say you're looking across at France from England, its position can't move. It's physically where it is. You can't put something that's in front of something behind something if it's physically in front of it. Now, likewise, if the horizon's comparable, i.e. a hill getting in the way, because we're on a sphere with a curved surface falling away from us, then that hill must be in the way. Those are the geometric capabilities of the sphere they say we're on. If it's beyond that, then it's no longer physical, and we are told it is no longer physical. We are told that we don't see geometric horizons. We're told that the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. Why? Well, because we've shown the horizon to be beyond the geometric capabilities of a sphere Earth. Ergo, it's not geometric. Now, as soon as it's not geometric, you can't derive an R value from it. So you can't justify its moving with an R value, i.e. terrestrial refractions move the horizon a physical location beyond where it's supposed to be blocking. Makes no sense. Also, you can't use that R value if you can't measure that R value, and the R value is derived from a physical horizon, which they're telling us isn't physical anymore, hence the Arwinian paradox. You can't move the horizon with an R value that's been derived from a horizon, because it makes it no longer physical, exactly as we're being told.
That indeed also, right? But yeah, the ballers have this really tenacious belief that that optics allows them to look behind physical obstructions. They really believe this.
Well,
They
it's
really
the
believe
only way. It's the only way they could keep their calculations for their globe model in their mind real.
Glad you added in their mind, because in their mind they can still utilise an R value that they can't derive from a physical horizon with dip angle measurements. And what they're going to do in lieu of that is go outside of the closed system we can consider Earth to be. So we go outside the closed system. No, that's not possible. Well, we'll consider it open to go outside the closed system to take a picture of it being damn well closed. No, that doesn't work either. So you can't go outside to space, the second law of thermodynamics violation, to take a picture of Earth as a sphere to claim it's a sphere. And you can't take dip angle measurements to assume R in every single claim to be proof of a sphere thereafter. Because you haven't got an R value anymore. We've debunked it. They left us with
Yeah,
no
but we
choice. We had to
wouldn't
debunk
expect
it. We had to debunk it. We were left with no choice. Why? Well, because we pointed out that to assume one's outcome is a begging the question fallacy, and the response we got was, we already know it's a sphere. So we had to take the argument to that level where we assumed Earth's a sphere, and within that argument pointed out how it's beyond the geometric capabilities of a sphere, i.e. Earth is flat.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Nick.
Hey,
So
Chocolate.
so they said, we've measured it, and then the black swan came in, and then they said, okay, we wouldn't expect to see it. Well, then you could have never measured it. Yeah, but it still works in our mind with a calculation. Can we keep our ball?
No, because they didn't get the R value in the first instance. Because they can't
Well,
derive
that's
it
what
from
I'm
a
saying.
non-physical horizon when the very essence of their model is that it's a geometric, physical obstruction for things in the distance, derived by way of its physicality. So to then throw their own claim of geometry under the bus by saying we don't see geometric horizons, when that's the very thing they're claiming, is in essence the end of the claim we're on a sphere.
Yes, that's my point. So they just want to keep it alive in their mind as a fallacy, but they just don't want to let go of their ball.
Nathan's question to Arwen is the question, and I've heard QE ask it too. And I've asked it, and we've all asked it of them. They say, oh, the black swan is debunked. We go, really? How was it debunked? Oh, refraction. Really? Show us how it happens. Show us how it was debunked. They can never show how it's debunked. It's just a hand wave. Dismissive.
By
And most
show,
of them
what
don't
you
even
mean is
understand it.
you can't physically show a hill between you and something in the distance being behind the thing it's supposed to block. In physical terms, you can't say refraction and then have their claim that the horizon is suddenly behind something it's supposed to block actually work in physical terms. Is that what you mean when you say you can't see it?
Yeah, it can't be done. Like, all they can do is say refraction and then never be able to actually show what they're talking about. It's just a hand wave claim. It's like, oh, refraction. The black swan is debunked. Refraction. And how is it? Explain it, show us something. They can't do that.
And that's
Most of
ultimately
them don't even understand the argument anyway.
sure, but there's another reason for it, and that is absolutely valid. But the other reason is because when you say show, the reason I focus on that word, and your example has been demonstrated correct first, they can't show a geometric R value based refraction. It doesn't exist as anything optical. It's merely a geometric value. So it's a 7/6 R in terrestrial form. Well, that's what they call standard refraction. Well, refraction is real. Terrestrial refraction is 7/6 R. Just an R value derivative to bend light at the rate of a presupposed sphere Earth that is bending the light around. So they've got a sphere assumption, and then they bend the light at the rate of the sphere assumption. But the sphere assumption has come from a derivative R value that we've debunked. End of globe.
Yeah, I mean, the very refraction, their standard refraction, terrestrial refraction, that involved them actually seeing the thing that the refraction says you can't see. You know what I mean? That is the paradox. It's like all they can do is hand wave it away and say refraction, hand wave it away, and it'll work with people who don't know anything about it, but it won't work with someone who does.
Yeah, it's the end because their refraction requires the very thing that's been debunked, which is the R value. So you can't suddenly appeal to 7/6 R when we've debunked R. So refraction, well, no, you don't have terrestrial refraction. And that's the refraction you must utilise. That's your assertion that we're on a sphere. That's the thing you're claiming. If you move to optical, anything, suddenly it invalidates all of your Earth curve calculators that don't have optical anything in them. They're all side profile. That's an orthographic representation we fondly call Muppet vision, where the side of your own head's in the shot, along with the target on the right or left side of the page, and a straight line drawn between the two, with the only assertion of the thing getting in the way being the Earth curve obstruction that is assumed in the calculation with the R value. Well, where's that R value come from? It used to be the case that we just said, well, we're just assuming it. Well, that's a logical fallacy to assume the thing you're trying to prove. If you've already got an R value, how is this proving the R value? You've already assumed it. Well, we already know it. Hence, we end up with modus tollens. Okay, we'll assume it with you. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to horizon can't be any more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, because that's what gives you a geometric horizon. Now, if the distance to horizon is in excess of that, you've no longer got a geometric horizon, and we've demonstrated that, and will be demonstrating it forevermore. They'll always be labelled as they are, black swans, because a geometric impossibility is demonstrated, destroying their assumption of an R value, which they used to justify with, well, we already know. No, you don't. You measured an R value by way of a dip angle to a horizon you assume to be physical, and horizons are not physical. They are apparent. That's appearing but not actual. The not actual position where the sky appears redundant to meet the sea or ground. Well, that position is not a physical sphere edge. And we're being told just how non-physical it is when we put the black swan argument to anybody who's prepared to listen without hand-waving it away. Well, we don't see a geometric horizon, they tell us. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, they tell us. We wouldn't expect to see a geometric horizon, they tell us. Well, that's your claim. You're telling us we wouldn't expect to see your claim of Earth curve then, because that's what geometric horizon is. The very thing you tell them at the start of their merry dance through this sphere belief, they should identify at the very start of their arguments. It all starts with the horizon, because the horizon in a globe model is a physical geometric sphere edge. Physical. Blocking stuff. Well, no, it isn't. We've debunked it with the black swan. And debunking the horizon as a physical sphere edge debunks your ability to derive an R value to assume every single claim to be proof thereafter. Globe's dead. Earth is flat.
Yeah, they wouldn't expect to come up with any evidence for a globe. That's what I tell you.
Yeah, we wouldn't expect to see a geometric horizon. We wouldn't expect to see Earth curve, is what that translates to, because the geometric horizon's Earth curve.
I like the
Well,
way
you've said-
Brian said it. Makes sense.
Yeah, they wouldn't expect to see any evidence for the globe.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Well,
Neither would
Nathan
we.
said in the past, they look at the
Because it's
stars
flat.
and they... I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, it's my fault.
No, I said, Nathan, I think if I say it correctly, or Nathan, just correct me. You've said in the past, they look at the stars and try to make sense of it, and so they reify it into that we live on a globe, something to that effect. A philosophy.
That's what it is. The heliocentric model is a way of understanding the movements of the lights in the sky. Well, you can expand the model out, you can change it, you can vary it. It's got various different properties that have scaling ability. Well, you can change the distances, for example. Change the scaling value, make Venus a bit bigger, make Venus a bit smaller, whatever you like. But ultimately speaking,
Right.
It's just a way of describing those movements. It is a philosophy. They tell you it's a philosophy. It's the heliocentric model.
So what did that one guy say to Mitchell from Australia? At best, you've proven what? So he changed it? The radius of the Earth?
At best, you would
Yeah,
have
he said
disproved the
at best you
radius.
debunked it.
No, it's Mr. Sensible saying, at best, you would have debunked the radius.
Well, then he changed it because it's not where it's supposed to be. And now the radius of the Earth is further than where the moon is.
Well, Mr. Sensible hadn't been around long enough to realise the basis, the foundation, the cornerstone, whatever you want to call it, of the heliocentric religion is to assume R. Well, if you debunk where it's claimed to be attained, then you don't have any claim to be proof of a sphere anymore, because every single claim to be sphere proof starts by assuming R. If at best you've debunked that, then we've at best debunked the entirety of the heliocentric worldview, because it's all based on R.
How did that guy say
What-
it? That we'll
what
never
are?
see Earth. We'll never see Earth from NASA's perspective, like from up in space. You'll never be able to see that globe. Who was that said that?
Matt Powerland.
Matt
Matt
Powerland.
Boylan.
You will never get
Yeah.
this perspective. You will never get this view of the Earth from space. Well, we would expand on that and say that you'll never get to space because space isn't real. It's the second law of thermodynamics violation. But at the time, he was pointing out that the vision they give you in form of the painting that is the blue marble, very similar to one of the paintings done by one of the original astronauts. I forget which one was the painter, but photorealistic painting was one of the skills of one of the original astronauts. Anywho,
Michael Collins.
was it Collins?
Michael Collins, yes.
Yeah, so if you look back through his artwork, he's drawn several blue marbles, very realistic ones as well. I didn't know until recently that he was as good as he actually was. So it's very high likelihood that the blue marble was done by him. Anyway, when they present that to you, Matt Powerland was pointing out that you will never get that view. That's not something attainable by mortal men. Now, we expand it out because the gas would expand out into that space if it was real, and we'd all be dead. The place they claim to have taken the picture from is also fake. Can't get to a second law of thermodynamics violation. There is no such thing as outer space. the sky vacuum is not real. It stands directly in violation of natural law. So not only will you never get to that view because NASA's the only one that can get there, NASA have lied about there being even a place to get to.
But we were told that for all practical uses, it's closed.
Yeah, trim that out.
No,
Just practically.
It is a closed system, and we know that because it's open.
I trimmed out. Yeah, well, I trimmed out Rumpus's doublespeak, which got a lot of comments. People saying, "Wow, this is a high example of cognitive dissonance or Orwellian doublespeak." It's like, yes, absolutely, that is precisely what it is. But I also got lucky with Sean Hawkins and got his dumbfounded reaction to it as he doublespeak and muttered his way around the fact that he's got a complete contradiction on his hands. And yeah, that is the literal situation. Obviously, it was littered with ad homs and attacks at me. But I know the reason why he's had to express his pain through that video, because he's heard the contradiction doublespeak and gone, well, yeah, you just don't understand the doublespeak contradiction. It's like, no, I do. I'm highlighting it. But nice that you can reiterate that from the point of view of someone who's heard Rumpus just tell him, we consider it closed. Then that's going to scramble his brains for a little bit. And then a little relief will come in the form of the contradiction. But it's open to spaceships to take a picture of it being closed. And he's gone, yeah, you don't understand, idiot. It's like, yeah, great. Yeah. Tell me all about the contradiction. Reiterate the contradiction. Tell us how you understand what closed is and how it's closed. But things can get in and out of it. Wonderful. Absolutely priceless.
Maybe we should look at Michael Collins' painting of the Earth a little bit more closer. He might have painted in a valve or a hatch somewhere.
Like in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I have a disagreement. I wouldn't call that getting lucky with Sean Hawkins.
No, I realise shooting fish in a barrel and all that, but my point is that immediately after having the Orwellian doublespeak contradiction laid out in very simple terms with us having a damn good laugh at it afterwards, and Chocolate even saying, man, you just killed yourself because the contradiction's so glaring, the Fundy, or a Fundy, it doesn't matter who, the fact it was Sean is irrelevant, expresses their cognitive processing in terms of how they will reify this contradiction into a justifiable, plausible explanation, when it in fact is actually a just blatant contradiction. You can't be open and closed simultaneously. But they will describe Earth as being closed for the gas pressure, open for stuff to leave it to take pictures of the gas pressure that's not contained. It's a complete nonsense. They've got a glaring contradiction.
But I think you missed my point.
He was saying, for all practical purposes, it's closed. So by that logic, would that mean for inferring that it's open is impractical?
Go on, Brian. I think you were saying I've missed your point. Go ahead.
Yeah. Getting lucky with Sean Hawkins is catching him saying something that actually is correct. You know what I mean? Not something that's incorrect, because that's 95% of his day. I was being sarcastic.
I see what you're saying.
Sean Hawkins is always putting his foot in his mouth.
That's true.
It didn't get by me. I got that one.
I get that, but as I say, it's more useful to see anybody, regardless of who, verbalizing their cognition, the way they process the contradiction, which is on the globe side, and how they justify it. Admittedly, peppered with lots of anger aimed at the person that's highlighting the contradiction. That's me.
Yeah, just look at the guy for the past few days. He's getting all frustrated and sighing, but then he turns around and he says, you won't understand.
So, Nathan, break it down even more for the audience sake. So they're saying, when they say for all practical purposes it's closed, they're saying that gas molecules cannot leave because of that, but then larger matter like spaceships and other things can leave. Just paint the picture of that.
Yeah, they're going to say that the spaceships are overcoming the gravitational attraction. They reach escape velocity, as they describe it, which assumes orbital mechanics and gravity are not actual force that you can think of as a force, actually the bending of conceptual mediums known as space-time. Well, when they describe those not actual forces, presumably with a lot of convoluted doublespeak packed and padded in between it all, they'll ultimately describe what Rumpus described in much more concise and simple terms. It's got to be closed for us to have gas pressure. There's just no way around that. It's a natural law, folks. We've been saying it for 3 years. Well, when it comes down to the brass tacks of how they're actually going to describe these things, they're going to have the containment, the volume, described up into the Kármán line. Well, up into the Kármán line, for the amount of volume that they calculate as the pressure, ignores the fact they don't have a container around it. Well, in those circumstances, they're going to be considering it closed with a given volume. Well, that given volume doesn't exist. The actual volume is the volume of space the gas can occupy. Well, that volume is the volume of space. Well, space isn't real because that would be the volume the gas would fill. And fill it must, it's natural law. But their fundamentalist religious belief of standing on a sphere stands directly in violation of natural law. We can't have gas pressure here if there's a sky vacuum, because the sky vacuum would simply be a space for the gas to fill. And fill it must, it's called entropy.
That's why that's still my favorite. I know the Black Swan, it's a killer, but gas pressure without a container is still my favorite.
It's part of a trilogy.
My favorite is
It's part of a trilogy.
Because the Black Swan kills the globe.
They're all
gas
equal,
pressure
right?
Without a container kills space.
All three arguments are equal because there's 3 aspects to the heliocentric model. Aspect number 1, we're spinning. 15 degrees an hour rotation of the Earth. That's what they claim. That's part of the model. So you've got to debunk it. Well, that would give you Coriolis deviation. That would be things drifting away in an inertial reference frame as you turned underneath on a non-inertial reference frame that they're claiming. Now, what do you know? They claim we do have Coriolis effect. We don't. Nothing's drifting away at 15 degrees an hour. It's demonstrably true. And at trench level, we argue all day about how we don't see drift. Because we don't. It's just that simple. There is no Coriolis effect. So that's one aspect. Now, I could easily argue that is the most important aspect to argue. It isn't. It's equally important to gas pressure without a container, sky vacuum's not real, automatically debunking all claims from that fake place called space. Useful. But then we've still got the overall claim, Earth a sphere. Well, that gives you Earth curvature. They claim it's the horizon. They claim it's a physical geometric sphere edge. Well, that's debunked by the Black Swan. And in my view, that aspect of the heliocentric model is the primary aspect of the heliocentric model. It's the thing that people go to first. We're on a sphere. Well, that's debunked with the Black Swan.
Nathan, are you starting the show?
Am I what?
We started the show, buddy.
Yeah, we're already live.
Oh, the show is on and all, is it?
Yeah, we're live. We've been live for about the last half an hour.
Oh, I didn't know that because I joined before 2 o'clock. I didn't realise you started early. I was kind of going, Jesus, Nathan's up there completely forgetting. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll also be finishing early.
Really?
Just so you know.
It's my fault.
No, it's all good. We've got one housekeeping question. I like these kind of shows. Half an hour on one housekeeping question is my favourite kind of show.
And excellent summaries, by the way, today by you, Nathan. So clip it out for us to share.
Agreed.
Excellent.
Oh, right. Fair enough. I'm blushing.
Hey, deserve a few compliments.
Thank Mr. Sensible. At best, we've debunked the radius.
Thank you, Mr. Sensible.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sensible.
I can't
Much
wait for the
obliged.
next stupid quote.
Thank you for laying it out exactly as we wanted it to be laid out, that we've debunked our...
It's amazing. We debunk R. They agree we debunk R. They don't know the ramifications of what that means.
Any evidence of axial rotation? The Earth-based variety?
Of the Earth-based variety? 15 degrees?
Got it?
Yeah, where's the drift? We don't see it.
There isn't any.
You can't move in a straight line upwards without being influenced by all this.
I must say, as I've been watching football, every time I do see a field goal kick the ball, it does curve.
Yeah, that's because his foot hit it on an angle, Neil.
Useful if you're going to assert that it's curving, because from the stands, the ball which actually travels straight only appears to curve because you turn underneath it on a spinning ball Earth. That was what Neil deGrasse Tyson asserted. If you're saying, well, they just naturally curve, they just generally have a tendency to curve, well, yeah, maybe. But ultimately, it's asserted that Earth's turning underneath a football at some stage by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Likewise, it's claimed Earth turns underneath snipers' bullets. Well, if Earth's turning underneath footballs and snipers' bullets, then it's going to turn underneath an aeroplane and a drone and a hot air balloon and a helicopter. And that doesn't happen.
I could give an alternative explanation to why the football was deviating. It has nothing to do with Coriolis effect. In reality, it has to do with the pressure dynamics of the pressure surrounding the ball, the air pressure. And yeah, it's a very elaborate thing. It's like its own science. But football players learn about it intuitively just by doing it, right? But there's air pressure dynamics going on with the football, and that's why it curves like that when you kick it in a certain way. Not because of deviation, because the Earth is turning underneath. I'll even go as far as to say, if you would kick a ball in a vacuum, it won't curve.
But you're speaking about actual deviation.
How about that?
Hang
You're
on.
saying bend it like Beckham? Like Beckham in a vacuum couldn't bend that ball?
Sorry, Ted.
No, it's because of air pressure dynamics. So if you take the air pressure away, balls will not be able to be kicked in curved lines.
Hang on.
It's how you kick it out.
Hang
I
on.
don't know about that.
Hang on. Let me get in. I've played, billiards, right? I've played European football, and I've kicked field goals before. Now, if you can put a spin on it, and in golf, you could do it all the time. It's called a draw or a cut. You can make the ball do all kinds of curves just by the spin of your foot or the club head or the pool cue. So that's how it happens.
We called it English in Brooklyn, like when you're playing pool and you want the ball to draw back or curve, we put a little English on it.
Right, but it does so because of the friction of its touching point with the table.
Hang on a
That's
second.
the friction point.
Saying
Enables that sort of spin.
Saying if you're trying to get it to bend, you call putting a bit of English on it. Trying to say with bend? What are you trying to say?
No, that's
Curve balls, when you kick them, they're pretty light. They are influenced by air pressure dynamics with billiard balls and all that, and snooker.
I think that's
it's the touching of the table that allows that effect. If it was a frictionless surface, you couldn't do that.
Nathan,
yeah, but with a football...
Someone just acknowledge Arwin. You'll just say it 3 more times if we don't actually acknowledge him. Yes, I agree, Arwin. I think you're right. And I think the friction is also partially...
Can you prove that?
Man, trying to get in this discussion is hard.
Yes, it is, indeed. Go ahead, 10th man. Go ahead.
I think that was a compliment because I've heard that too. Put a little English on it. So it's just saying how the English knew how to play billiards.
English know how to do everything. Come on, let's face it.
We probably invented it.
Snooker.
You got snookered by the English.
They're all my favorite people. Them and the Irish.
Thanks, Neil. I love the Italians too, and the Americans. So that means I love you double. Howard.
Are you from Dublin? Are you from Dublin? Is that why you love double?
No, he said double because double Dutch.
Okay.
Howard, it's how you kick the ball. A soccer player knows how to kick the ball to make it bend. So you kick the ball.
But what's actually causing the bending is the air pressure dynamics that happen with the ball spinning within the air. It's like the pressure that surrounds it from all sides. There's a certain dynamic to this. And that is what is actually causing the curving deviation. If there was no pressure dynamics,
by the way, Arwin's right. By the way, the ball's kicked will affect the way the ball spins, and by the way the ball spins will create... I think it's like a Magnus effect. I've forgotten the term for it, but you're going to create different pressures on different sides of the ball to create it curving by way of the way the ball, as it spins, interacts with the air. Arwin is correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And so is Brian. That's down to how you kick
Arwin. Arwin is correct, and we just need Arwin to demonstrate it in the vacuum.
No, we don't. We need to move on with housekeeping.
It could be possible if NASA would allow us to use that room. You would not have an actual player inside, but you could make a mechanical, a mechanical foot to do the kick, position it, then draw the vacuum, and then test it. You could actually do that if NASA would allow you to use that chamber.
The only problem if it for that is you'd never be able to bring it into reality because you'd never have anyone be able to watch it in real life because everyone would be dead. So what's the point?
Oh, you want the natural world out there? Well, that's going to be a problem. There's no
Okay,
natural
moving on. Any evidence of the R value?
Nonsense.
Well, how did they get it? And I think Brian went on this. Brian knows how they got the R value.
Well, you calculate it. You take a length, then you assume it's connected like a sphere, and then you got your R value. Even though it could be just a circle or it could be anything with a circle, they just assume the third dimensional aspect about it.
Well, wasn't it the shadows?
Yeah, Aristophanes just measured a direct measurement. That's all he did. A north to south measurement or south to north measurement. That's all he did. Of an approximate 500 miles. That's going by what they say. I mean, because they used stadies at the time, which is a different unit of a different unit than a foot or a meter. And there's a bit of an argument about what one stadie is or what one stadie is. But they say an approximate 500 miles. So he was calculating a measurement. So unless they can come up with some original source material that proves that he was pre-assuming a sphere, then he just done a measurement, a straight line measurement on trying to calculate a diameter of a flat plane using the latitude and longitude.
Yeah, but the trick was the shadows, right?
Well, that came in. We don't know. The shadow was the trick, but we don't know whether he was. I mean, no matter what way you twist or turn it, he still has to pre-assume a lot of stuff involved anyway. So he might have got it right. He might have got it right, but I don't believe it was as simple as they say. If you know what I mean. No matter what, if he was really existed and he was able to do that and actually get a correct measurement, if he was actually able to do that of 500 miles at that time, then either they had a lot more, let's say, facilities at their disposal than we're aware of, and he was he was a lot smarter and done it in a very different way than what they say. Because what they say is just pre-assuming, because you don't have to do anything. You just have to, anyone can put out, do exactly what he did and add the mathematics to it, and it all works perfect.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. Everyone who uses the sextant does exactly that test. The sextant shows the angle to the light or the sun or the moon or whatever star. And in his case, they say the shadow shows that angle. So the sextant grabs the angle of where you are in relationship to where the sun is directly overhead somewhere on Earth, which is its zenith geographical position. So it works on a flat Earth exactly the way the sextant is designed to do it. So the sextant is a tool that shows the shadow of Eratosthenes. The angle.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, it's like they only have a claim of the Greeks being flat earthers. They have no actual source or globe earthers. They have no actual source evidence that they were.
Well,
they just took. I just want to say this part: the Greek civilization was very civilized. They were a high civilization. So they very likely just latched on to the fact that in history the Greeks were a very high civilization. They were obviously a bit like the Chinese in that where they were smart, and so they might have just took a somewhat recent, close enough civilization to Europe and the Western world, and just added a load of globe nonsense to it. Because if the Greeks were that smart, how come they never made a globe?
Yeah, Nathan, I'm going to throw some slides up. I want you to show if you would, please.
In Master B?
Yes, I'm coming your way now.
Okay.
Let me make sure. There we go. Only 4 slides? I thought I picked 6. All right, I'll send the rest if it doesn't show up.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, it's 50% complete. Tell me. I don't know what's coming over, though. Let me send these two just in case they didn't make it.
Okay, the first slide starts with the parallel lines, right?
Yeah, tell me which one. Just because I
The
don't
cartoon
know.
of Earth
Is it?
with the moon shown with converging and parallel lines.
Okay, so it's a blue ball.
Got it up. Ready whenever you are.
Yeah, is it a black background with a blue sphere?
Black background with a blue sphere. Two blue
But
spheres.
that's
Two suns.
well, one's a lamp showing divergent rays. The other one is just parallel rays.
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, their model, the sun's rays have to come in parallel, and it shows it coming in this picture, drawing, whatever. And then if you put a lamp next to the same sphere, it comes in divergent. Now we know that when you look at the sun's rays, it's always divergent. It's not coming parallel. So that destroys their globe right there, their globe model of measurement. Because if the sun doesn't have rays that are parallel, it doesn't it doesn't work for them, because they need to go to the center of the earth as well as to the surface of the earth. And when you see those arrows coming in, one say going to the center, one skimming the surface, it's going to have the same angle when they do their radius and they get their 90 degrees. But if the sun's rays come in at an angle, as you see with the lamp illustration, it doesn't work. Now, how do the sun rays come in? We've shown endless pictures of how the sun's rays come in. They come in at an angle. Now, the next picture should be a map with two circles.
A star at the bottom, like a literal star-shaped star.
Here, let me send it. No, it's a map with two circles. How you get a position with a sextant. I don't know why that didn't send. Let me go back. Master B.
Okay, is it figure 1.1? Sun casts shadow on the post at Alexandria.
Well, actually, I see them all in Master B.
Maybe
No,
I've just gone in the wrong
lower
order. Describe what it is, and I'll put it up.
It's the one that shows two circles,
Got
and
it.
it says GP of Rigel and
Got it.
GP Alphard. Perfect. So see where the two circles meet, and you got the dotted lines from the two stars?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where the sailboat is, or where the person's using the sextant. The star is directly over that geographical position. One's over the ocean there, GP Alphard, and then, of course, GP of Rigel, geographical position that is there on that continent. Now, the sailboat's over there where the two circles meet. Now, if you're that guy taking this sextant reading, you're saying, okay, my position to Rigel is, for example, I'm going to make this up, 2,500 miles. So you got to draw a circle from where Rigel is, from its zenith position on Earth, because your air almanac's going to say where it is exactly over the Earth at its 12 noon position, basically. And you're somewhere in that circle on the left side, but you don't know what part, but you're still 2,500 miles away from your point of destination. So you grab another luminary and you do another measurement with a sextant, and the circles cross each other at 2 points. Since you know where you are based on your previous, you know you're at the upper circle where they meet. So now you have an exact position. So you're 2,500 miles from Rigel, you're say 1,200 miles from Alphard, and you go to the air almanac and you find your longitude, latitude, and you know exactly where you are in the middle of the ocean. That's how a sextant works. Now, a sextant could only work on a flat surface. It cannot work over a curved surface because you can't get an angle on a curved surface. And when Eratosthenes was looking at the shadows, now if we can go to the other pictures, I don't know which one's going to come up.
Got it. I'm tracking with you.
Okay, so you just go, I don't know what you're showing, but if you go to the other pictures, they're saying because of the shadow and sun rays coming parallel, that proves the circumference of the Earth. Well, wrong, because sun rays don't come in parallel and shadows are cast because you're at an angle to that sun or star's geographical position. So you're getting the angle to it from where you are, just like I described in the previous slide, 2,500 miles from it. Because if you get closer to it, the angle gets less and less. And if you're right under it, there is no shadow and there's no angle. You're under it, it's at your zenith. So that's how it works with a sextant. And a sextant has to work as a right angle protractor because you got to have the 0 and the 90, and where they two meet, where you are, that's your corner, your vertex. You can't have the 0 line be curved, say on the curved surface of the Earth, and your zenith go to the center of the Earth. There's no way to get an angle. I mean, how much of an arc is there? Over 2,500 miles. How are you going to get an angle? It's over.
Perfect.
Sorry, Nathan.
Well, I'm just going to round out this live show and say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 back for switching your UK energy supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.